الله أكبر الله أكبر أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another edition of the program Islam and Society from MTA Africa, Sierra Leone Studios. This program is aimed to look at the problems of the society, highlighting the social, moral, economic, and other issues disturbing the progress of humanity and the workable solution provided by Islam. In today's episode, we will talk about peace. And to make this program a success, I have with me two eminent brothers of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat in Sierra Leone. On my immediate right, I have brother Muhammad Mawis Kamara Sahib, and on my far right, of course, I have brother Munir Bakar Yusuf. Brothers, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Welcome to the program Islam and Society.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah hasana jaza. Well, viewers, before we could come to our panelists in the studios, let us first listen the opinion of people on today's topic, which is peace.
Is the absence of violence and establishment of harmony in a relationship, society, community, or whatsoever you find yourself. And in order for let peace prevail, we just get for be a sustainable relationship between each another and try for develop and restructure whatsoever difficulty or constraint where we don't go on.
Countries are loyal, we don't enjoy many years of peace. Although we all experience for the civil war, we know, of course, we papa them or we uncle them, then get your memory. We of this recent generation, we not get that experience there. We thank God for that. But throughout the world, everyday goes, everyday trouble they happen. Even Palestine and Gaza, of course, inside Ukraine, Russia, and other parts of the world, everyday people in the faith.
Who na get peace na a community, it make the community they grow, development they come, and we also peace dey na a country. Stress no the day na the country, trauma no the day, alahala no the day, the country will develop and una go be friendly.
Well, we've just heard from what the people outside there have to say about peace. Let me start with Brother Maurice Sahib. What's your reaction?
Yeah, as we have heard what they said about our country, to be specific, they said that we have peace in our country. Yes, I agree with them, but we should not be happy just because our country is peaceful, because our brothers in other countries are suffering, they are not enjoying peace. So we should pray for them fervently so that they can enjoy the same peace.
Indeed, the people are right. We have peace in the country, but that does not mean we have always been peaceful. There have been a period of time when the country, faces chaos, war, and today still we find some elements of, threatening, life-threatening incidents happening.
All right. Jazakumullah hasana jaza. I want to thank the both of you. Now, we want to discuss this discussion on peace based on the perspective of Islam. So let me start with you, Brother Munir Sahib. Peace is very vital and is very important for today's society and for everyone's convenience. So what is it on peace in the Holy Quran?
Well, you see, in light of the Holy Quran, peace is very, very important. One of the names of Allah or attributes of Allah is As-Salam, the God of peace. And our religion is called Islam, the religion of peace, and submission to the will of Allah. Peace is so important that Allah the Almighty drew our attention to each saying, as-sulhu khair. Every good you think about, every progress, every development you think about are embedded in peace.
No.
So therefore, Allah the Almighty has warned the believers, saying, Faslihu baina akhawaykum. You must make peace with your brethren. Make peace with one another. No. And even if there is a chance or a situation where people, are fighting among themselves, you are in a state of war, Allah the Almighty says, Wa in janahu lisalmi fajnah laha. If the other party recline to peace, you too should recline to it. So whatever happens, you should try always to stand with peace. In the universe, Allah the Almighty has placed everything in order. He says, Kullu fi falakin yasbahun. All the planets, all the galaxies, they are in their perfect order, swinging in their own orbit. When you come to the earth, the animals in the water never come to the earth and wage war. Similarly, animals in the bush don't come to the town to drive the people away. But peace is, at a whole, it is in the hands of humans. Because Allah the Almighty has enabled man to strive on earth, on sea, or on air. And this is the reason the Holy Quran has taught us when Allah intended, to upgrade the intelligence of man, to put man in control, that the angels asked Allah, Ataj'alu fiha man yusidu fiha. Will you establish therein he who will create disorder? So it means disorder really comes from people. The opposite of peace is al-fasad, disorder. And this disorder, it has bearing on human activities. Allah the Almighty, he say, both land and sea has become corrupted because of what the man has, harvested. So in this way, Allah the Almighty has advised the Muslims, to be specific, that they should always stand for peace.
Jazakumullah ahsana jaza. Indeed, we need to stand together for peace, and Allah the Almighty has laid emphasis on the fact that we should make peace, being that He's a God of peace. So as Muslims or as humans, we should also be able to exhibit and also display peace. Jazakumullah ahsana jaza. Now, let me bring in Brother Maurice Sahib on this one. We are still talking about peace in light of what Islam has taught us. So we've just heard from the perspective of the Holy Quran. What more have we learned from Islam?
Yeah, I just want to add something with regards to this point of view. Our master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a major part of his mission was to bring peace to the world. And he tried to convince people by telling them that all men and women living in different parts of the world, having different color, having different culture and different language, we are in fact blood brothers and sisters. And in the hadith, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you are all the children of Adam, and Adam was created from clay. In another hadith, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has taught us to be peaceful in the society. He says, "La yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibba li akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi." That none of you will attain to perfect faith unless you love for your brother what you love for yourself. If the Muslims, we are to follow these teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then there will be peace in the society and no more, in terms of violence and fighting. In another hadith, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afshu salama taslamun." It says that you should spread peace, then you'll be safe. In another hadith, he said, "Inna salama," that he said, "As-salam," the peace, ismun min asma'illahi ta'ala, that is one of the names of Allah the Almighty. وَدَعَهُ اللَّهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ, which Allah the Almighty has placed it upon the earth. From there He gave an instruction. فَأَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ بَيْنَكُمْ, that you should spread peace among yourselves. All of these are beautiful teachings, towards one direction, towards peace.
All right, Jazakumullah ahsana jaza, Brother Muhammad Maurice Sahib, for explaining very well, and we've learned a lot from what Islam has taught us when it comes to peace. Now, I turn to Brother Munir Abubakar Yusuf Sahib. we are discussing peace, very much important. Let us just fit in peace in the African society. What have we got in terms of peace in Africa?
Well, mashallah. You see, looking at Africa in the past, you know, African are very peaceful people. You know, Africa was one of the most peaceful areas or land anyone can live. You know, we cannot deny the fact that there have not been war, there have not been chaos or misunderstanding, but Africa has been enjoying peace more than, you know, fight or war. That is why even in African culture, I can say all over Africa, one prominent aspect of African culture is singing and dancing. When there is war, there is fight, you don't fight, you don't sing, you don't dance.
No.
But it is embedded in all tribes of Africa, in all nations of Africa, that they love singing and dancing. You know, in the past, it is difficult to hear about crime because law and order was in place before the colonial era. You know, you can see those the youths, you know, will be traveling from here and there without top security. They are free to practice their faith, their traditions, and all the rest. But as history prevails, you know, present to us that some period of time there have been chaos, but it is very difficult to read even in history that have been criminal war, like war between one country and the other in Africa. Yes, nationally there have been some
internal war, sometimes
tribal war, but to that level that Africans trying to colonize this land, it was on a very low scale.
No.
So Africa as a nation, there are peaceful people. That is why even in our culture, not only the real relatives, the blood relatives are considered as brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But as people of Africa, we consider all of us as brothers. Even we refer to friends as relatives.
Yeah.
We refer to them as our brothers and our sisters. You know, people from far end, when we see them, he is your fellow human being. He is your brother. He is your sister. When an African, typical African, you know, has the privilege to construct a house, to build a house, he will reserve 1 or 2 rooms for strangers, considering them to be members of his family. So whenever they come to his aid, whatever offer he could have, a service he could render to them, we render those services to them.
Jazakumullah Hassan Jaza, Mobusab, for explaining these points. Like you mentioned that Africa was peaceful way back before slavery and also before colonialism on the continent, and you've explained the traditions and how, you know, we extend hands to even those who are friends, or we say those who are not even part of the blood line, but we show some amount of respect for them because we want to be peaceful. Now, looking at the African continent now, in contemporary world, what Maurice Sahib, in terms of peace, what is this?
Yeah, if you look at the situation of the world today, including Africa, is so pathetic in the sense that you know, there are a lot of conflict, violence, and bloodshed. But we should not see these things as you know, a surprise, because they are the very issues which has been foretold by our master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that such things will take place in the Akhir Zaman, in the latter days. In a hadith, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that violence, bloodshed, and anarchy will be common in the latter days. And in another hadith, he said that cities will be destroyed, and it will be as if they never existed a day before. And we have seen the fulfillment aspect of this hadith of our master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, looking at what is going on today, the example of Gaza is there, the fight between Russia and Ukraine, and we have also seen even in Africa here that the fight of you know, in the country of the Democratic Republic of Congo, you know, fight is ongoing there, And in Nigeria, they have the Boko Haram, a terrorist group, disturbing the peace of the society. In Sudan, they have Al-Shabaab also doing the same thing. And also we have seen in the African countries, a lot of protests, violence, and killing taking place. So in a nutshell, we have realized that the peace in today's world is so fragile.
Jazakumullah Hassan Jaza. Well, viewers, we've just heard from brothers here in the studios talking about peace. And it is quite clear that there are still issues bordering around peace, especially on the African continent and also by extension across the world. So what is the solution for peace? Let us watch an address delivered by the fifth successor of the Promised Messiah ﷺ in Japan on the 23rd of November 2015.
We are living in extremely precarious and dangerous times in which the state of the world is a cause of huge concern. Conflict and disorder is consuming the world and threatening international peace and security. If we glance towards the Muslim world, we see that in a number of countries, the governments are involved in brutal wars with their own people. Bloodshed and senseless violence is completely destroying the fabric of those nations. And terrorist groups are taking advantage of the resulting power vacuums by taking control of certain areas and establishing their own so-called governments and rule. They are acting in a heinous fashion and committing the most barbaric cruelties imaginable, not only in their own countries, but now they have reached Europe. And the recent example of this brutalities is Paris attack. In Eastern Europe, hostilities between Russia and Ukraine and other European countries are continuing to flare. Furthermore, recently there has been heightened tension between the United States and China regarding the incursion of an American warship into the South China Sea. As you are well aware, there's also a long-running territorial conflict between China and Japan over disputed islands. The Kashmir issue between India and Pakistan is a constant source of conflict and shows no sign of abating. Similarly, tensions between Israel and Palestine have also destroyed the peace of the region. In Africa, terrorist groups have gained power and control over certain regions and are causing widespread destruction and devastation. I have mentioned only a few of the issues that the world currently faces, and indeed, there are many further examples of discord and unrest. Therefore, the only conclusion that can be reached is that the world is now becoming engulfed by violence and disorder. In the modern world, the scope of warfare is much more vast than in previous eras. Conflicts in one part of the world do not remain limited or local. Rather, their effects and consequences spread much further afield. The mass media and the means of instant communication have transformed the world into a global village. In the olden days, it was possible for a war to remain confined to those who were directly involved. But now, the consequences of each conflict and each war are truly global. In fact, for many years, I have been warning that the world should realize that the effects of a war in one region can and will affect the peace and harmony of other parts of the world. If we look back in history to the two world wars that took place in the 20th century, we all know that the weaponry available at that time was now nowhere near as advanced or lethal as the weapons and arsenals of today. Yet still it is said that around 70 million people were killed in World War II alone. And the majority of those who lost their lives were innocent civilians. Therefore, the potential for disaster and catastrophe today is unimaginable. At the time of the Second World War, the United States possessed nuclear weapons that, although extremely destructive, were nowhere near as powerful as modern-day nuclear weapons. Furthermore, now it is not just the major powers that have nuclear bombs, but even a number of smaller countries possess them. Whilst perhaps the major powers keep such weapons as a deterrent, there is no guarantee that the smaller countries will show such restraint. We cannot take it for granted that they will never use nuclear weapons. Thus, it is clear that the world stands on the brink of nation. Very briefly, I shall now seek to explain what Islam's teachings really are. As a fundamental principle, Islam says that any war for the sake of geopolitical or economic gains or as a means to take control of natural resources can never be justified. Further, in chapter 16, verse 127 of the Holy Quran, Allah, the Almighty, has said that any punishment during a state of war must remain proportionate to the crime committed and must never exceed due limits. Following the conclusion of a war, the Quran says that it is better to forgive and to display patience. Similarly, in chapter 8, verse 62, the Holy Quran states that where relations between two parties have broken down and preparations are made for war, if the opponents seek reconciliation, it is incumbent upon the other party to accept their gesture and to place their trust in Allah. The Quran says that one should not speculate about the motivation or sincerity of the opposing party, but should always work towards peaceful resolution. This Quranic teaching is a key principle for maintaining international peace and security. In chapter 5, verse 9, Allah the Almighty has proclaimed that the enmity of a nation or people should never incite you to sacrifice the principles of justice and fairness. Rather, Islam teaches that in all circumstances, no matter how challenging, you must remain firmly attached to the principles of justice and integrity. Indeed, it is justice That is the means of improving relations, of removing frustrations, and eliminating the causes of war. In chapter 24, verse 34, the Quran states that if, after a successful war, you stipulate certain fiscal dues on the captives of war as a means to set them free, your terms must be reasonable so that they can easily afford them, and if you permit them to pay in installments, it is for the better. A golden principle for the establishment of peace is given in chapter 49, verse 10 of the Holy Quran, where it says that if there is a dispute between nations or groups, third parties should seek to mediate and to bring about a peaceful resolution. In the event of an agreement, if either party unjustly contravenes the negotiated settlement, then the other nations should unite and use force, if necessary, to stop the aggressor. However, once the aggressive party withdraws, they should not be unduly restricted. This principle, rather, they should be permitted to move forward as an independent nation and as a free society. This principle is of great significance in today's world, and in particular for the major powers and international organizations such as the United Nations. If they act upon these values, then true peace and justice can be established in the world, and unnecessary frustrations will naturally die away.
Well, viewers, that is it. That is the solution provided by Islam when it comes to peace. Well, I want to use this opportunity to say Jazakumullah Hasana Jaza to my panelists in the studios, Brother Munir Abubakar Yusuf and Brother Muhammad Mawis Kamal Sahib. Jazakumullah for being part of today's program. Well, viewers, that is all time will permit for today's edition of the program Islam and Society. Until we come your way another time with another episode from all of us in our studios here in Sierra Leone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.